Manchester City's chances of winning a fifth Premier League title in a row, gone. It's over for Manchester City this season. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality of the facts. I know you're going to see a lot of the believers, the faithful Manchester City fans, the credulous, some people might call them, the deluded, some might even go to call them as well. But I mean, you've got to look at the reality of the situation now as a Manchester City fan, because I mean, even if you are the most believing type, the most faithful Manchester City fan out there, you're going to point at the numbers. The mathematicians out there are going to say, oh, it's only 8 points, even though there's a game in hand on top of those 8 points behind Liverpool. Yeah, mathematically, it's doable, but it's not the numbers. The numbers mean nothing in these circumstances right now. It's what's happening on the pitch is what is the most important thing. And some of the decision-making from Pep Guardiola is questionable right now. I mean, I think almost every City fan was shocked at the team selection that we saw yesterday. It was mind-boggling. It was genuinely mind-boggling to see some of the choices that Pep Guardiola made after seeing him get it so right against Nottingham Forest. Listen, I believe in Pep Guardiola. There's no reason to call for his head yet or question his ability as a manager long term. We have every right as fans to question his decision making in isolated games like yesterday. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. And I think the majority of the fan base looked at the team selection and thought, why no Doku? Why no Grealish? You know, those two players played absolutely sensational football against Nottingham Forest in the 3-0 win. There were still problems in the 3-0 win, don't get me wrong, but I mean, they were, I wouldn't even call them papered over, because I thought we did quite a good job of nullifying Nottingham Forest to a very limited amount of chances. We were gifting the chance that they did get. The big one was Kevin De Bruyne sending Chris Wood through on goal. Other than that, we looked very, very potent going forward. And there was a lot of energy in the midfield with legs that were supporting the likes of Ilkay Gundogan. Jack Grealish complemented Ilkay Gundogan. They worked together. It was hand and glove moment for me. It was a real light bulb moment. It was like, great idea, Pep. He put it into fruition, and wow, look at how it worked. It worked. To then decide, no, it's not worth it in the next game. I just don't understand. I don't understand that way of thinking at all. To play the hand you dealt, you know, play the winning hand. You've got a royal flush, mate. Play it. Do you know what I mean? All in, mate. All in. Let's go. I don't even know poker. I just know royal flush is a hand you can get, and it's a pretty good one, I believe. So, yeah, Jack Grealish, he is that situation. It's a good hand. All in with Jack Grealish for me in midfield. It had to be. It had to be. Jeremy Doku's the same one. The Jack Grealish not starting is got an excuse attached to it now because Pep Guardiola said he picked up a knock. But I mean, he's okay to. We seem to have categories of injuries now at Manchester City. We seem to have the fully fit. That's the best category. That means you're starting. You know, then there's the carrying injuries, which seems to be every City player, bar Haaland and maybe a few others. You know, pretty much every City player seems to be carrying an injury right now, and that you're okay for the bench. And then the absolutely decrepit, like broken people who have like inability to walk at the minute, they're in the medical room. They don't even make it to the bench. And there's a large amount of people in there right now. Obviously, you've got Oscar Bob, Rodri, and Kovacic, and Akanji's now in there. John Stones is in there. The list goes on and on. 7 first-team choices that would make it into the starting 11 for Manchester City are not available right now. So that's a reason. It's not an excuse, though, to see what we're seeing on the pitch, because what we're seeing on the pitch is the likes of Kyle Walker, mate, who is not injured. He isn't carrying an injury. He is fit and raring to go. But he's playing some of the most shocking football. I couldn't even imagine Kyle Walker would stoop to this level of ability, considering we're talking about potentially one of the Premier League's greatest ever right-backs. You know, in terms of what he used to do in a Manchester City shirt, which it's not even that long ago. A couple of years ago, Kyle Walker was hands down one of the most lethal, most dangerous in terms of his ability to prevent transitions as such a useful tool for Manchester City on the big occasions. All the City fans, even a couple of years ago, were saying, we've got to play Kyle Walker to look after Mbappe, Vinicius Jr. Imagine saying that now. Imagine saying, get Kyle Walker to look after Vinicius Jr. Do you know what I mean? Just because of his speed. That's gone as well. And I don't think Kyle Walker's ability as a player completely hinged on his speed. It's not the same. I don't think it's like, oh, once you lose your speed, you're nothing as a player. But I'm starting to look at it and say, maybe Maybe. Do you know what I mean? Because what is he doing in certain situations? There's nothing to do with your ability your agility, your athleticism, when you just can't be bothered to jump from a corner. When that ball comes in, you have to be aware. Even Pep Guardiola has said himself that we have inability to defend corners. Well, I mean, jump would be a start. Try to win the ball. Go for it. Attack the thing. You're meant to be a defender. You're meant to want to stick your head in where it hurts. You're meant to want to do those things. And what we've seen this season, Kyle Walker tapping the tit of Gabriel. Do you know what I mean? In a corner, just thinking he's funny. Do you know what I mean? Like winding up people, like trying to like have a game of chicken with Timo Werner, having a game of chicken with Adama Traore, see if you can beat me. And then they beat him very easily. And then messing about on the edge of the area. Gabriel, oh, look at me, mate, flicking your tit. Well, what are you doing? What are you going to do? You can't beat me. You can't be playing fucking games, mate. Childish games on the edge of the area, flicking his tit. And then he spins him and smashes it into the back of our net. Do you know what I mean? Kyle Walker, at least that was more than what he did yesterday. I mean, where was LaCroix just jumps up and just like, oh, are you not even going to bother trying to stop me? Fine. Bang. 2-1 Crystal Palace. Do you know what I mean? At least flick his tit or something. Do something better, because yesterday was worse than the Gabriel defending. Shocking from Kyle Walker. It's so disappointing to see these mistakes. And he's not the only one. There are other players on that pitch that you expect more from. I thought Bernardo Silva yesterday had a good first half. I thought he was okay, but then he started to get sloppy, really sloppy. Giving it away in the midfield was so disappointing, and the amount of times he was doing it as well. Simple passes. It was his pass actually who gave it away to Will Hughes that they ended up getting a corner from that giveaway, and that corner resulted in 2-1 Crystal Palace. So I mean, the dominoes started to tumble. The mistakes after that. Guardiola just kept letting the ball run under his foot. Basic schoolboy stuff. You know, I teach my kids when I play football with them for the team that I manage. And I'm looking after them and I'm saying, just control with your side foot. Stop this trying to lift your foot and, you know, and don't use your studs to control the ball. The fundamental basics that you teach 6-year-olds is control the ball with your side foot. Do you know what I mean? Absolute basics like that. Raising your foot and letting it roll under your studs more than one occasion in 90 minutes is inexcusable. It's up here. It's the concentration. Do you know what I mean? Why is that happening so frequently? It's an epidemic of confidence that's just completely lacking in this Manchester City squad right now. I mean, you look at Jeremy Doku and how well he performed against Nottingham Forest. A goal and an assist. Next game, I can't think of any circumstances, barring it, and the fact that he's not injured as well. Don't forget that he's not injured, so there isn't even got the Jack Grealish has got a knock associated with it. Jeremy Doku, goal and an assist in the previous game. Next game, he has to start. He has to start. These are the circumstances we're in right now. We're struggling for goals. We're completely dependent on Erling Haaland prior to this drastic form that we've entered into right now. Completely dependent on Erling Haaland. And as a result of that, we're looking at other players to step up. And they did against Nottingham Forest. Bernardo Silva got a goal. Kevin De Bruyne got a goal. Jeremy Doku got a goal. It was fantastic to see 3 other goal scorers that weren't Erling Haaland. And 2 of them, do you know what I mean? One of them didn't play, and the other one that was massively involved in the solidity in our midfield also didn't play. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But what did Manchester City do now in terms of the focus? I see a lot of City fans saying, right, forget the Premier League now. Well, we can't do that for obvious reasons, because if we forget the Premier League, then you might as well forget the rest of the future. Do you know what I mean? Because we've got to get into that top 4. Without top 4 football, we can't attract Champions League players. Without Champions League players, you won't win anything next season. So we have to concentrate on the Premier League this season and at least try to get second place. That's got to be the target for Manchester City. We are in a top 4 race, but the target should be finishing second place, because we are very much in touching distance of Arsenal. But the reality is, we talk about, we need Liverpool to go on a drastic run where they fall apart like we do. They've not done it yet. And I imagine Liverpool are going to have a slip this season where their form declines. And people say, we need Arsenal to do that. They've already done it. They went 4 games without a win. They've already had theirs. And look what they're doing now. They've turned the corner. Chelsea, they started the season pretty poorly. They're already turning the corner. I believe they'll dip again. But Manchester City, I believe long-term this season, there will be a resurgence from Manchester City. I think we need to get to January. I think we'll sign some players in January. 1, maybe even 2, that could be a difference maker in terms of what we're seeing on the pitch. Not the difference maker in terms of the trophies that we're going to get. I think that's done. I mean, in terms of the Premier League, it's done. Champions League, you never know. I mean, you look at the Chelsea season when they won the Champions League, beating us, and obviously years before that, beating Bayern Munich. Where did they finish in the league that season? They were awful in their Premier League campaigns that season, but they went on to win the Champions League. even though they were crap in the Premier League that season. But you ask Chelsea fans, what do they remember about that season? That's the season they won the Champions League, not the season they finished 7th in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? So that's what City could do this season. So a top 4 season, bag yourself a Champions League, as if that's I say it like it's an easy thing to do. You know, the problem with the form that City are in right now is the fact that that we're in a league table now. It's not knockout football with groups where you're playing 2 crap teams and 1 potentially good team. We are facing good teams every week now in the Champions League. So the entertainment factor has gone up. From our point of view, it's a disaster because we need to go back to the old format. The old format would almost guarantee our progression into the next rounds of the Champions League. But this new format, it's putting big teams at risk. Look at Real Madrid in the table. Look at Manchester City in the table. Even Arsenal, you know. You've got to get the league, and that's form. So you carry in your league form into the Champions League form, if that makes sense, and you get found out, you know, because there's more games to be played against better opposition. And I think if we get through, you get into the knockout stages, then it's anyone's guess. Anyone's guess at that point, because Manchester City, on their day, could quite easily go through and win themselves a Champions League trophy. I fully believe that. The same can be said about the FA Cup, with lesser opposition to beat in the process. You never know. Manchester City could still pick up silverware this season, but the chances of the Premier League are gone for Manchester City. Do you still believe, as a Manchester City fan, that we can still win this Premier League title? I will be shocked if there is the majority of you that actually believe Manchester City could go and win this Premier League title. I still believe there's going to be some, to be honest, I would call them deluded people at this point to still believe that we have what it takes to overtake Chelsea, Arsenal and Liverpool, those 3 teams. I very much doubt it. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now.